Marcus Webb didn't send a single angry email. No LinkedIn post. No lawyer. No goodbye message to the team he'd worked with for 6 years. He just picked up his coffee mug, his charging cable, and a photo of his dog, and walked out of Dellworth Logistics on a Tuesday afternoon, like he was leaving for lunch. The HR receptionist watched him go. She thought he seemed surprisingly calm. She had no idea that the man walking past her desk had just become the most expensive mistake Richard Calloway would ever make. Here's what nobody in that building understood on March 11, 2025. You don't fire the architect and keep the building. Marcus was 28 years old when Dellworth hired him, fresh out of a mid-tier systems analyst role at a logistics company in Indianapolis. Nothing flashy on paper, but the kind of guy who could look at broken infrastructure and immediately see exactly what was wrong with it. And Dellworth's infrastructure was very wrong. When Marcus arrived, their inventory tracking was being managed across 3 separate software platforms that had never been integrated. Spreadsheets filled in by hand, shipment records that lived in email chains, warehouse staff in Rockford, Illinois manually calling the Chicago office to confirm routing updates. In 2019, a company processing millions of dollars in freight every month, running on spreadsheets and phone calls. The operations director, Greg Paulson, handed Marcus a laptop on his second day and said 2 words: "Fix it." So Marcus fixed it. Not in a week, not with an off-the-shelf software package. Over the next 6 years, Marcus built Dellworth, a fully custom inventory tracking system. Automated routing logic, real-time shipment visibility, integrated across all 14 of their Midwest warehouse locations. The kind of system that a firm 3 times Dellworth's size would have paid a software company $2 million to build. Marcus built it from nothing on salary. By January 2024, that system was processing $3.2 million in monthly shipments with an error rate of less than 0.3%. Clients were renewing, operations were smooth. The CEO, Richard Calloway, shook Marcus's hand at the company Christmas party in December 2023 and said, "You're the reason this place still runs." Marcus smiled and said thank you. He meant it genuinely. He loved that system, the way a builder loves a structure they raised from the ground. That's important. Remember that. Because 2 months later, in February 2025, Marcus started hearing a word he hadn't heard before at Dellworth: restructuring, a consulting firm out of Dallas. Meridian Advisory Group had been brought in quietly. No company-wide announcement. Just suits appearing in conference rooms, asking department heads to pull headcount reports and salary data. Marcus wasn't concerned. He'd watched colleagues get nervous around consultants before. He understood why, but Marcus wasn't a line item. Marcus was load-bearing. You don't restructure load-bearing walls. On March 11, 2025, at 2:17 in the afternoon, Marcus was called to Conference Room B on the 9th floor. HR Director Sandra Kowalski was already seated when he arrived. Manila folder on the table, printed letter facing him. She didn't make small talk. His position was being eliminated. Effective immediately. 2 weeks severance, $4,300. After taxes, Cobra Health coverage through May 31st. A non-disclosure agreement which she slid across the table with a pen already uncapped. Marcus read the NDA, signed it, slid it back. Then he stood up, shook Sandra's hand, and said quietly, "Good luck." Not bitter, not cold. Almost like he meant it as a genuine wish. Sandra filed the paperwork and moved on to the next termination on her list. She wouldn't understand those 2 words until August. Now here's the part that Meridian Advisory Group, with their process audits and their headcount spreadsheets, completely missed. When Marcus built Dellworth's system back in 2019, he did what every competent systems architect does at the foundation stage. He created a master authentication key, a root-level credential buried in the back end, used for emergency overrides, deep diagnostics, system-level access that bypass the standard user interface entirely. Standard practice, responsible development, not a trap. But here's what made it extraordinary. Marcus had never written that key down anywhere inside Dellworth's documentation. Not because he was hiding it, because in 6 years, nobody had ever asked him to document it. There was no formal handover process when he was let go, no exit interview with it, no knowledge transfer meeting. They walked him out the door in 47 minutes. Think about that. 6 years of custom architecture. One afternoon to clear a desk. That key existed in a layer of the system that Dellworth's entire remaining its staff, including their new hire, didn't know was there, like a basement room in a house that only the original contractor knew how to find. Dellworth replaced Marcus with a contractor named Tyler Brent, 22 years old, 2 years of general IT experience, a CompTIA A+ certification he'd earned from a 12-week online course. Tyler was brought in through a staffing agency at $18 an hour. Marcus had been making $94,000 a year. For the first few weeks in April 2025, the system held. It was well built. Marcus had made sure of that. It ran on its own momentum, the way a well-engineered machine does. Tyler monitored dashboards, updated user accounts, handled basic tickets. Then quietly, things started breaking, not dramatically, not all at once. The way a foundation crack spreads, slow, invisible, until the wall moves. Routing mismatches started appearing in the Rockford warehouse logs. Shipment confirmations weren't syncing between the Chicago hub and the Columbus distribution partner. A batch processing job that had run automatically every night for 3 years stopped completing without error messages. It just stopped. Tyler escalated to Dellworth's internal IT manager. The IT manager escalated to the VP of Operations. The VP of Operations called Meridian Advisory back in, the same consulting firm that had recommended eliminating Marcus's position 4 months earlier. Meridian's team spent 3 weeks inside the system. They couldn't find the root cause, because the root cause wasn't in any layer they could see. By June 2025, the end of Q2, the errors had compounded beyond anything that could be managed quietly. $847,000 in misrouted shipments across a 6-week window. Freight arriving at wrong facilities. Time-sensitive industrial equipment sitting in the wrong warehouse while clients waited. Harrington Industrial called on June 3rd and canceled their contract. $780,000 annual revenue, gone. Lakeshore Manufacturing canceled June 17th. Another $640,000. A distribution partner out of Columbus, a relationship Dellworth had held for 9 years, sent a formal termination notice on June 28th, $680,000 annually done. In 1 quarter, $2.1 million in annual revenue. 3 major clients. Because a Dallas consulting firm decided that $94,000 a year was redundant overhead. Richard Calloway sat in a board meeting on the 14th floor of West Monroe Street in late July 2025 and explained to investors why Q2 looked like a controlled demolition. Meanwhile, the man with the answer was in Lincoln Park, watching the Cubs drop a 4-2 lead to the Cardinals in the 7th inning, eating takeout from a Thai place on Armitage Avenue. He had been waiting for this phone call for months. He just didn't rush it. August 4th, 2025. Monday morning, 9:22 a.m. Marcus's phone vibrated on the kitchen counter. Unknown number 312, area code, Chicago. He looked at it. Let it ring to voicemail. 30 seconds later, a notification. New voicemail. He played it. Marcus, this is Richard Calloway. Listen, I'd love to connect when you have a moment. Give me a call back when you get a chance. Marcus set the phone face down. Made a second cup of coffee, read for an hour. The second call came at 11:47 a.m. He watched the screen until it stopped. The third call came at 2:05 p.m. This time Calloway left another voicemail. His voice was slightly less composed. Words like urgent and time sensitive had appeared. Marcus didn't listen to it until the following morning. If you've ever packed 6 years of your life into a cardboard box in 47 minutes, you already know exactly why he didn't answer. And if you haven't, keep watching, because this is the part that matters. Real quick, if this story is landing the way I think it is, hit subscribe right now. Every week we bring you stories exactly like this one, Real situations, real numbers, real outcomes. The fourth call came at 4:31 p.m. Marcus picked up on the third ring. Richard, just the name, no greeting, no warmth, no hostility either. Just a name, delivered the same way you'd read it off a document. Calloway's voice was tight, the specific tightness of a man who needs something and hates that he needs it. He explained the situation methodically. The system failures, the client losses, the Q2 numbers. He said Dellworth was in a difficult position. He said they needed someone with foundational knowledge of the infrastructure. He said they needed Marcus. When Calloway finished, Marcus let 4 full seconds pass in silence. Then, I can help with that. Calloway exhaled audibly. That's great to hear, Marcus. We were thinking we could bring you back on a temporary. As a consultant, Marcus said. Independent contractor. 90 days. My rate is $340,000. Flat fee, paid in 2 installments. Non-negotiable. I'll need a signed agreement by Friday, August 8th. Silence. Not the pause of someone considering. The silence of someone doing math they didn't want to do. Marcus, that figure is. We'd need to run that through. That's completely fine, Marcus said. Friday. He ended the call. On Friday, August 8th, 2025, 150 days after Sandra Kowalski slid that NDA across the conference table, Dellworth Logistics wired $170,000 to Marcus Webb's business account, 50% up front, against a signed $340,000 consulting agreement. The same company, the same building on West Monroe Street, the same CEO who'd called him load. Bearing and then let a firm from Dallas label him redundant. Marcus logged into the system on Monday morning, August 11th. He found the problem in 4 hours. He fixed it in 61 days, ahead of the 90-day contract. On October 9th, 2025, the remaining $170,000 cleared his account. He sent Calloway a 1-line email, engagement complete. Calloway replied with 3 sentences about how much Dellworth appreciated his expertise and hoped to maintain a productive relationship going forward. Marcus read it, closed the email, never responded. Marcus Webb relocated to Austin, Texas in November 2025. He works independently now. No firm, no office, no boss. His current consulting rate is $4,200 per day. He has a 6-month waitlist of clients who found him through referral only. He has no LinkedIn profile. He doesn't need one. Here's the thing about Marcus that I keep coming back to. He didn't win because he planned revenge. He won because he built something real. And then he had the patience to let the people who underestimated him find out what they'd lost on their own timeline. Not his. Calloway called 4 times before Marcus picked up. Most people would have answered the first call just to feel validated. Marcus understood something that took Dellworth $2.1 million in lost revenue to learn. Leverage doesn't announce itself. It just waits. Share this with someone who's been underestimated at work. And if you're not subscribed yet, next week's story makes this one look like a warm-up.